He is the General Manager of Internet Development Department at JPNIC and Board Director of ICANN. Mr. Maemura will be giving a small talk on autonomy and legitimacy of Internet. A round of applause for Mr. Maemura, please.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. My name is Akinori Maemura, Japan Network Information Center. This is a quite huge honor of mine to be invited here as the keynote speaker. I am doing something in Japan for the internet governance, and that's one of the job in Japan. And then what I see in here in the TWIGF is a much bigger scale with the full-fledged of the important people who drive the Taiwanese internet much more to the future. And then I need to learn a lot from the TWIGF to do my job in Japan to develop my own IGF in Japan. Thank you very much, Koebu. He's my predecessor at the ICANN Board of Directors, and then he's my old good friend who worked with me for around 10 years at the JPNIC Executive Council. And he's a big mentor of mine to teach me a lot of important things, including this IGF. Then I'm really happy to talk with you about a small talk on the autonomy and the governance of the internet. This is the title. It's a small talk. And then the problem is that this presentation slide has 86 pages for 25 minutes. It is almost impossible. Then how to make this possible is to skip. Please allow me to do that in this presentation. All right, go ahead then. Okay, who I am. Akinori Maemura. Maemura is surname, Akinori is given name. I am the General Manager of the Internet Development Department, which is doing the promotion of the Internet in a various ways. We are doing the information sharing, disseminating the information, events, seminars, community building, something like that. That's my job. And then JPNIC is a sister company of the TWNIC in Japan. They started our business in 1991 as the voluntary group. It was not incorporated. And then incorporated in 1997 in Japan in the form of the Shadan Hojin, which is a quite similar way with the TWNIC was incorporated. And then our target is contributing to the sustaining operation of the internet. Two businesses. One is the IP address management, like APNIC does. That's a half part of JPNIC. The other half is the internet promotion, like the Internet Society does. So these two are our main job. Then in this context, I am time to time serving for the public services. One is, as I said, Executive Council of the APNIC, which is the IP address registry for the Asia Pacific region. I did that for 16 years with Mr. Wu. And then after that, I moved to the ICANN board. ICANN is the standing for Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers. And then that's a root coordination body for the Internet Unique Identifiers and the DNS. And I assumed the board director position after Mr. Wu stepped down. Another public service of mine is the board director of the JPSAT Coordination Center, and then that's taking care of the security of the computer network. Then I need to skip all of them All right. So this is a small talk. Let's start with the small talk. A tiny charity and the internet. That's the title of this talk. No, this way. There is one frequent asked question to the JPNIC. What allows JPNIC to manage IP addresses? JPNIC is a tiny charity in Japan. It only has 30 people in the JPNIC secretariat. We run only $5 million annual budget. It's tiny. What allows a tiny charity to manage the IP addresses? That's the frequent asked question. Is JPNIC an extra department to the Ministry of the Telecommunications? No, we are fully private. We are private sector, not for-profit entity. That's another frequent asked, frequent responded answer. Then I guess the seems to mean, why can the tiny Chinese do such a formal thing? Then that's my point of this small talk. Answer for the FAQ. Yes, I have the answer for this frequent answered question. Frequent asked question. All right. Yes. JPNIC has a contract with the APNIC, which is the Asia Pacific representative of the IP address management, and APNIC has the contract with the ICANN, which is doing the root administration of the unique identifiers. I want to stop here. And then the questioner still looks like puzzled, kind of thing. Then I need to tell him, oh yes, ICANN had a contract with the U.S. Department of Commerce. And then he looks like relieved. That's a frequent response. So yes, we have the U.S. DOC here, United States Department of Commerce. Then U.S. DOC. What do you think about this? The internet IP address management come to the U.S. DOC. Please think about that. What do you think? Oh, it does make sense if it leads to U.S. DOC. If you think so, please raise your hand. No one? Wow. All right. Then another way. Let's go. That if you think so, then in other words, that means you're anxious if no government but only private sector doing the IP address management. I think so. Then another way, U.S. DOC, what? U.S. DOC controlling the internet. If you think like that, please raise your hand. Oh, U.S. DOC is controlling the internet. No? Oh, okay, some of them, yes. Then this question is actually shared with the three out of the 200 countries, like this. These sometimes the voice their own opinion, insisting the internet resource should be managed under United Nations. But it should be done by UN, but US DOC is controlling. What's the situation? Actually, okay. This ICANN, the contract between ICANN and the US DOC expired on October 1st, 2016, and there is no longer a contractual relationship between ICANN and the US DOC on this regard. So, yes, way to autonomy. The internet is now autonomous. We got the autonomy. How? That's a story. So there is a brief history of the internet. Internet existing for 30 or 40 years, according to the definition, and then the commercial internet just emerged in 1990, early 1990s, And then before that, the internet was mere, the research network. Mere research network, and then a small number of people only were using the internet. But early 90s, everyone got able to use the internet. Then it didn't take much time, and in the mid 90s, domain names get troubles. So in this case, domain names are just for naming the servers and the hosts of the research network. But in the mid 90s, the domain name is already representing the trademark. Then trademark protection was come up to the issues, and then that's one point. So, for example, we have a lot of domain name. For example, JAL, Japan Airlines. JAL represents me for the Japan Airline, but JAL.com was not registered by Japan Airlines, but someone else. It's a problem, right? So this kind of problem should be addressed. And another problem was antitrust status suspected, because domain name at the time already a very precious asset. Everyone want to get. It's a popular. That's the internet. The new eras that advertisement means. But the popular cool internet domain name is sold by just one single registry. That's the problem at the time. So there are problems. So let's do it ourselves. Let's solve that ourselves. The internet is the do-it-yourself network. Internet is the created by ourselves and then defined by ourselves and developed by ourselves. It's all about ourselves. So these problems should be solved by ourselves. That was shared sentiment at the 1996 among the all global multi-stakeholder community of the internet. So the community members all over the world start to think about that, and then made a movement to try to establish a global MOU to solve the problem, which is called GTLD MOU. The big movement to the form to regulate the internet by ourselves. But here in 1997, USA come up to us and said, "Oh no, it's mine, not yours. It's mine. Internet is US's." That's what the US says. So because USA had been funding all development and the operations of the internet as the research project since 60s until mid-90s. That is the reason why United States of America claims the internet is theirs. Then USA come back to the Internet Committee with the green paper. Green paper says like this: the management of the Internet's unique identifier should be transferred from DOC to private sector. Yes, Internet should be done by yourselves, not ours. That's based upon the notion that the Internet is USA's. But they are generous enough to give it to the Internet community. So they claimed that the Internet unique identifier should be managed by the private sector. So let's establish a new company for it. But a new company cannot do that all at once. So I can help you. I can help them. So please, for the transition, the US DOC is willing to enter into a contract with a new company. Okay, says 2 years. So this contract is all about transitioning the management of the Internet unique identifier from DOC to the new company. But the reality is much longer than 2 years. 2 years from 1998 would have made in 2000, but it was still going on. Contract was renewed, and renewed. That's a reality. But in 2014, March 14th, US DOC's NTIA, National Telecommunication and Information Administration, that's the agency name, release one website to tell the intent to the transition of this stewardship to the Internet's unique identifier. And then the DOC asked community to propose the new scheme to the administering the Internet. Then we start discussion. Then we don't have the real reason why DOC came to think about this. And then that's already the Edward Snowden's face here. But one of the interpretation of this reasoning is it's because of the Snowden revelation. Snowden made a revelation of the National Security Agency was doing the quite a wide range of the surveillance to the communications over the internet. So that is shocked the global internet community, like, United States of America promoting the open internet and the free flow of the internet. And now I understand that reason why you are promoting that is to do the surveillance over that communications. That's really bad for the U.S. to have this kind of reputation. And then they did that. They did the transition of the unique identifier to the community to regain the reputation. That's one of the interpretation. Then I don't know what the reality is, but one of the interpretation. It is reasonable. Then that was 2014 March 14th, and then the transition was completed in 16th October 1st. So we have the 2.5 years to get autonomous from the US DOC about Internet's unique identifier. Long story, but we did it. So that management scheme, pre-transition is like this. They are the 4 entities, US DOC, NTIA, and then ICANN is the root administrator of the unique identifier. And then from them, but domain name is go to the ICANN, and the IP addresses going to the regional internet registries, and the protocol parameters are going to the ITF. Then US DOC NTIA enters into contract with ICANN to have ICANN do the ledger management of the unique identifier. And then I can provide the services to the IETF, RIRs, and ICANN itself for the management. This is the scheme. Then post-transition, the NTIA gone. So we autonomously doing this management, and the supervision of this service is done by IETF, RIR, and ICANN themselves by setting the service level and then overseeing that service level is accomplished. So oversight is done by the customer. It's the current scheme. It's the scheme which is now working. So NTIA released the very simple release like this on October 1st, 2016 to say the INR services contract is expired. period. Reality is, we had a tremendous pushback from the Republican at the time. This outcome was not known until the end, the very end. This release was really delighted us a lot. I found this release in Saturday morning in Japan. Saturday morning is still the Friday evening in US, right? Then Friday evening, NTA released this announcement. I look at that when I was queuing up in a supermarket. Then I found it. Oh yes, that's released. Then now we extinguished the one of the 3 contracts to which allowed us to manage the IP addresses. Then another question: what allows JPNIC to manage IP addresses? What do you think? Okay, you can say what allows TWNIC to manage IP addresses in the same way, just the same. Really? We don't have, by the way. Yes, then what allows JPNIC to manage the IP addresses? It's all about a legitimacy question. We call that in Japanese seito, maybe similar or a little bit different from in case of the Chinese. Legitimacy is the status with the proper qualification recognized. If so, then we can do something. So the legitimacy is now without jurisdiction. Before that, before the pre-transition, the legitimacy to do the IP address management was under jurisdiction of the US. But now we don't have any contractual relationship with the US government. Then there is no jurisdiction, in case of Japan at least, and then many countries. Then ICANN has entered into contracts and received the trust of the operational committees, which are ITF, RIRs, and ICANN of the Internet resources. The operational committees are all open, inclusive, and bottom-up, and everyone with interest can participate in the process. Very little possibility for a malicious group to capture the decision process. With those, maybe the global general public allow APNIC and JPNIC, ICANN, then APNIC, and then JPNIC to do the IP address management. And the 3 operational committees have all operated the policy development and the enhancement of the process over 20 years. It is an important point. And 25 years since, 2.5 years since 2014 proved that 3 operational committees can collaborate to establish a new integrated scheme. They are the proofs for justifying this legitimacy. Actually, we did a lot of things. There is, this is 18 year has a lot of contract renewal, and then we thought the US DOC may not release this stewardship, but they finally done this. And then in this 18 years, the numbers committee did a lot of enhancement of the scheme. For example, the 3 RIRs in the beginning, and they have the LACNIC for Latin America, AFRINIC in Africa, and then formed the coalition of the RIRs, which is number resource organization, and we employed IP before address transfer policy, and then IP before address exhaustion happened, but still we are doing our own business. And then the ITF side had a lot of enhancement of their own scheme. So they are all our own enhancement to do the management business of the Internet's unique identifier which has been rapidly growing up, then we definitely needed the enhancement of the scheme. So this internet resource management is the one-of-a-kind case in the world in which the sovereignty or treaty doesn't cause the legitimacy. For the management and its policy development of public social infrastructure, you know, the internet is used by everyone. The internet is now called as the social infrastructure. The social infrastructure usually taken care of by the national sovereignty. And the national sovereignty has the authority to regulate such a social infrastructure to keep that reasonably operated. But in case of the internet, do it yourself, right? Internet is done by ourselves. Then there is no sovereignty or treaty to justify this. Of course, I know the situation that some countries have regulation which provides a certain organization do this kind of business. But without that, we can do that. Without that, people allow, for example, in case of JPNIC, the Japanese people allow us to do this. This is based on the jurisdiction which we ourselves created. So this is all about governance of the internet. And now, story after here is the governance on the internet, like this. This is some sort of internet, and then you know, this yellow part is the internet. Internet is consisted of what's that? DNS, I think, domain name, IP addresses, protocol parameters, and then they makes the internet work. You know, the internet infrastructure, for example, the circuit and the switch, it's themselves cannot do the internet. Internet only can be working because we created the protocols, and then we manage the unique identifiers to identify my communication counterpart. This is the internet. And you are doing a lot of things on the internet. You see the blue part, which is on the internet, is like a town. You know, you doing a lot of things on the internet as if you were in the town. So doing something on the internet is just the same as you doing something in the town. So the governance of the internet, no. On the internet, I should say, of the rule of the society of the internet is that is meaning to solve the social problems on the internet and economic problems on the internet. But it is no difference from the governance on the internet and the governance of the internet, that real society. There is no difference for good or bad, regardless whether it is on or off the net. Then this kind of the governance should need to be regulated, be the public policy and public regulation in general. It is very hard to have the citizen and an economic player to do something really, you know, reasonable. You know, for example, the company needs to earn the money in the utmost effort, right? Then in that case, they may do something unfair. So that is the reason why we need the regulation. So the internet governance on the internet may need some regulation by the public policy and then some regulatory body, but we need to make that now. Again, skipping. All right, this is what I want to say. So that was internet governance of the internet. We did that by ourselves, right? Then we are now autonomous. We got the autonomy to do that. And this is all about ourselves. Then internet thing is really difficult, and then innovation is really quick. Everything is highly technical, and then the public policy regulator cannot be the authority to everything. It is impossible. So we definitely need the expert for a lot of technical segment to do the right thing to regulate our activity on the internet. Then, what I talk today as a small talk is how to get the autonomy to do the management of the internet itself. Internet governance forum like a TWIGF is something to think about governance on the internet. Then the governance on the internet, again, it's of ourselves, and then ourselves need to include a lot of the technical expertise which craft the future of the social infrastructure, which is including the internet. So it is maybe the reason for you to be here in the TWIGF to discuss with the other people of thinking about this. So that concludes my presentation. Thank you very much for listening until the end. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Maemura, for your insightful speech on governance and JPNIC. 谢谢 Mr. Maemura 的专题演讲。